Alex Carter wiped the sweat from his face as he looked down at the alien ruins below. The planet Kepler 442c was a dead world covered in strange blue crystals that grew everywhere like frozen trees. His team had been digging here for 3 weeks, and today they found something amazing. The research ship Starbound hung in orbit above them like a metal giant. Alex was part of a small team of scientists who studied old alien things. They traveled from planet to planet looking for clues about races that died long ago. This planet used to belong to something called the Zephyrians, but they had been gone for 3 million years. "Alex, come look at this," called Maya Singh from inside the hole they had dug. Maya was the team's language expert. She could read alien writing better than anyone else in human space. Alex climbed down the metal ladder into the dig site. The walls around him were made of black stone that looked like glass. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing softly, with blue light. The Zephyrians had built this place to last forever. "What did you find?" Alex asked as he walked over to where Maya stood. Maya pointed at a large room ahead of them, the main chamber. "And Alex, there's something in there that shouldn't exist." They walked forward together, their boots making soft sounds on the smooth floor. The chamber was huge, bigger than a football field. The ceiling stretched up so high that their lights couldn't reach it. In the center of the room sat a black stone table, perfectly round and carved from a single piece of rock. On top of the table was something that made Alex's heart beat faster. An emblem made of silver metal sat there like it had just been placed yesterday. The emblem was about the size of a dinner plate, covered in patterns that seemed to move when Alex looked at them. Circles within circles, lines that twisted and turned, all of it somehow alive even though it was just metal. "That's impossible," Alex whispered. "Nothing should look that new after 3 million years." Maya nodded, her face pale in the light from their equipment. "The metal isn't rusting or falling apart. It's like time forgot about it completely." Heavy footsteps echoed through the chamber as Commander Lisa Brooks walked up behind them. Lisa was in charge of their mission, and she never looked happy about anything. Today she looked especially worried. "Both of you need to step away from that thing right now," Lisa said in a voice that meant business. "Why?" Alex asked. "It's just sitting there. We should study it." Lisa's hand moved to the weapon on her belt. "Because that emblem has killed everyone who has touched it. 3 different teams found emblems just like that one on other Zephyrian worlds. Every single person who got too close either disappeared forever or died with their brains burned out." Maya took a step back, but Alex moved closer to the table. Something about the emblem was calling to him, not with sound, but with a feeling he couldn't explain, like it was waiting for something. "The Galactic Council put these things on the forbidden list," Lisa continued. "Nobody is allowed to touch them or even get close. We're here to study the ruins, not to play with alien death traps." Alex stared at the emblem. The patterns on its surface seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "But, Lisa, what if we're missing something important? What if the other teams just didn't know how to handle it properly? What if you end up dead?" Lisa shot back. "Alex, I've seen the reports. Good scientists just like you thought they could figure it out. They're all gone now. Some just vanished into thin air. Others were found with smoke coming out of their ears." The emblem continued to pulse with its strange inner light. Alex noticed something the others had missed. His equipment was picking up energy readings from the thing, but they weren't random. The patterns matched something familiar, something from Earth. "Maya, run a bioscan on that emblem," Alex said quietly. "Alex, don't you dare encourage him," Lisa warned. Maya looked between them, then decided to trust Alex. She pulled out her scanner and pointed it at the emblem. The device beeped softly as it worked. After a minute, Maya's eyes went wide. "This is crazy," she whispered. "The energy patterns coming from that thing, they match human DNA." Lisa frowned. "That's impossible. Humans have never been to this planet before us. We didn't even know it existed until last month." Alex felt his heart racing. What if it's not impossible? What if there's a connection we don't understand yet? "The connection is that you'll be dead if you touch it," Lisa said, firmly. We're leaving this room right now and I'm putting a guard at the entrance. Nobody goes near that emblem until the council tells us what to do with it. As they walked back toward the entrance, Alex kept looking over his shoulder at the emblem. It seemed to glow brighter as he moved away from it, like it was trying to get his attention. The feeling of being called grew stronger with each step. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. He lay in his bunk on the research station above the planet, thinking about the emblem. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those swirling patterns. The bioscan results made no sense, but they were real. Maya had run the test 3 times to be sure. Why would an alien artifact respond to human DNA? Humans had only been traveling in space for about 200 years. The Zephyrians had been dead for 3 million years. There was no way the two races could have ever met, unless something everyone believed about human history was wrong. Alex got up and looked out the window at the planet below. The blue crystals covering its surface caught the light from the system's twin suns and sparkled like diamonds. Somewhere down there, in that black chamber, the emblem was waiting. He made a decision that would change everything. The next morning, Alex waited until the rest of the team was busy with other work. Lisa had put 2 guards at the entrance to the main chamber, but Alex knew the ruins better than anyone. He had spent days mapping every tunnel and room while the others worked on the surface. There was another way into the chamber through a narrow passage that connected to the old Zephyrian water system. Alex had discovered it 3 days ago but hadn't told anyone because it was dangerous. The tunnel was barely wide enough for one person, and part of it was flooded with strange blue liquid that glowed in the dark. Alex gathered his equipment and made his way to the hidden entrance. He told Kate Murphy, the team's engineer, that he was going to check some power readings in the lower tunnels. Kate was too busy fixing their main generator to ask questions. The secret tunnel was even smaller than Alex remembered. He had to crawl, on his hands and knees for most of the way, pulling his equipment bag behind him. The walls were covered in the same smooth black stone as the rest of the ruins, but here the Zephyrian symbols were different. These looked older, more primitive. After 20 minutes of crawling, Alex reached the flooded section. The blue liquid came up to his chest and felt warm against his skin through his protective suit. His lights made the liquid glow brighter, turning the whole tunnel into a glowing blue tube. Alex hoped the stuff wasn't dangerous, but his suit's sensors said it was just water mixed with harmless minerals. The tunnel ended at a grate that opened into the main chamber. Alex could see the emblem on its black table about 50 feet away. The 2 guards were on the other side of the room, playing cards and not paying attention to anything. Alex quietly opened the grate and slipped into the chamber. He stayed in, the shadows along the wall, moving slowly toward the center of the room. His heart was beating so loud he was sure the guards would hear it, but they kept playing their game. When Alex reached the black table, he stopped and stared at the emblem. Up close, it was even more beautiful and strange. The metal seemed to be made of silver, but it had a color that silver shouldn't have. The patterns carved into its surface moved like living things, flowing from one shape to another in an endless dance. Alex pulled out his scanner and ran every test he could think of. The device confirmed what Maya had found the day before. The emblem was giving off energy patterns that matched human DNA. Not just any human DNA, but specifically Alex's DNA. The scanner showed a 97% match. That was impossible. Alex had never been near anything like this emblem before. His family had lived on Earth for as long as anyone could remember. There was no way his DNA should match an alien artifact that was older than human civilization. Alex reached out his hand toward the emblem, then stopped. Lisa's warnings echoed in his head. 3 teams of scientists had died or disappeared because of things like this. Maybe he should go back and report what he had found, but the emblem pulsed brighter, and the feeling of being called grew stronger. It was like the thing was alive and trying to talk to him. Alex had spent his whole life studying alien ruins, but he had never felt anything like this before. He took a step closer to the table. The emblem's light grew brighter still, and now Alex could see that the patterns on its surface were actually moving. They flowed like water, but water made of light and metal. The sight was so beautiful that Alex forgot about everything else. That's when his foot hit a piece of broken stone that had fallen from the ceiling. Alex lost his balance and fell forward. reaching out with his hands to catch himself. His right hand slammed down on the emblem before he could stop himself. Alex expected to die instantly. He expected his brain to burn out or his body to disappear into nothing. Instead, something wonderful happened. The emblem exploded with warm, golden light that filled the entire chamber. Alex felt the light flow into his hand and up his arm like warm honey. It didn't hurt at all. Instead, it felt like coming home after a long journey. The guards across the room jumped up from their card game and started shouting, "Alert! Alert! The emblem is active! Get Commander Brooks down here right now!" But Alex couldn't hear them clearly. The light from the emblem was showing him things. Pictures formed in the air around him, made of the same golden glow. He saw star maps with thousands of worlds marked in bright colors. He saw strange creatures that looked almost human but not quite. He saw great cities that floated in space like metal mountains. And then he saw something that made his knees go weak. The pictures showed Earth, but Earth as it was long ago. Primitive humans were living in caves and hunting with stone tools. But there were other humans there too. Humans who wore clothes made of metal and carried tools that glowed with their own light. The advanced humans were teaching the primitive ones. They showed them how to make fire, how to grow food, how to build shelters. Then the advanced humans got into ships that rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. Alex understood what he was seeing. The Zephyrians hadn't been aliens at all. They had been humans. Humans from so long ago that everyone had forgotten they ever existed. And they had visited Earth during mankind's early days, leaving behind some of their people to help humanity grow and learn. The emblem was still connected to his hand, and Alex could feel it reading his thoughts and memories. It was learning about him, about what humans had become in the millions of years since the Zephyrians had left Earth, and it seemed pleased with what it found. More pictures formed in the light. Alex saw the emblem itself being made, long ago, in a great workshop filled with machines he couldn't understand. The Zephyrians had built it as a test, a way to find their lost children among the stars. Only someone with true Zephyrian blood could activate it safely. Heavy footsteps echoed through the chamber as more people arrived. Alex heard Lisa's voice shouting orders, and Ryan Powell, the security chief, telling everyone to stay back. But Alex couldn't let go of the emblem even if he wanted to. The connection between them was growing stronger every second. The emblem was downloading information into Alex's mind, showing him things that humanity had lost long ago. Technologies that could heal any disease. Machines that could create food from nothing. Ships that could travel between stars in days instead of years. All of it was waiting somewhere, hidden on worlds that the Zephyrians had prepared for the day when their children would return. But the emblem also showed Alex something frightening. The reason why the Zephyrians had left Earth and scattered their people across the galaxy. There was something coming, something dark and terrible that had destroyed the great Zephyrian civilization. And it was still out there, moving slowly through the empty space between galaxies, looking for new worlds to consume. The light around Alex began to fade, and the pictures in the air dissolved like smoke. But the connection between him and the emblem remained strong. He could feel its presence in his mind like a voice that spoke without words. Alex finally let go of the emblem and stumbled backward. The golden light was gone, but the emblem itself was different now. It no longer looked like simple metal. Instead, it seemed to be made of crystallized starlight, beautiful and alive. Ryan Powell and his security team had their weapons pointed at Alex, but they didn't shoot. Lisa stood beside them, her face pale with shock. "Alex," she said quietly, "are you still you?" Alex looked at his hands and flexed his fingers. Everything felt normal, but he could sense something new in his mind. The emblem had left behind knowledge, like a library that he could access whenever he wanted. He knew things now that he had never learned. "I'm still me," Alex said to Lisa, "but I understand now. The emblem wasn't trying to kill anyone. It was waiting for the right person to touch it." Ryan Powell kept his weapon ready but didn't shoot. "The right person? What does that mean?" Before Alex could answer, the chamber began to change around them. The black wall started glowing with the same golden light that had come from the emblem. Symbols appeared everywhere, covering every surface with writing that pulsed like living things. "The whole complex is waking up," Maya said, as she ran into the chamber with her scanner. "I'm reading massive energy spikes throughout the entire ruin. It's like the place has been sleeping for millions of years and just opened its eyes." Alex walked over to the nearest wall and placed his hand on the glowing symbols. Immediately, the writing began to change, rearranging itself into patterns that he could read. The knowledge the emblem had given him included the Zephyrian language. "It's beautiful," Alex whispered as he read the flowing text. "These walls are telling the story of our people." "Our people?" Lisa asked. "Alex, you're human. The Zephyrians were aliens." Alex turned to face the group. "No, they weren't. The Zephyrians were human, just like us. They were our ancestors, Lisa. We are their children, scattered across the galaxy and forgotten by time." Kate Murphy arrived with more equipment, her face red from running. "The power systems in this place are beyond anything we've ever seen. Every machine is starting up at once. If this keeps going, the energy output will be visible from orbit." Alex touched another section of the wall and a doorway opened that none of them had seen before. Beyond it lay a corridor that stretched away into darkness, lit by symbols that glowed as they approached. "Where does that lead?" Ryan asked, still suspicious of everything. Alex closed his eyes and consulted the knowledge in his mind. The emblem had shown him maps of the entire complex. "To the archive chambers. That's where they kept their most important information." Maya stepped forward eagerly. "Alex, if you can read their language now, you could translate everything. We could learn about their entire civilization." "It's not safe," Ryan protested. "We don't know what else might be activating in this place. We should evacuate and call for backup." But Alex was already walking toward the new corridor. He could feel the emblem calling to him from its table, encouraging him to explore. The knowledge in his mind told him that the complex was designed to respond to Zephyrian descendants. It would only open its secrets to someone with the right bloodline. The corridor led them deeper into the ruins than any human had ever gone. The walls here were covered with pictures instead of writing. Alex saw images of great cities floating in space, ships the size of mountains, and people who looked exactly like modern humans but wore clothes made of light itself. "This is incredible," Maya breathed as she recorded everything with her camera. "These pictures show a civilization that was far more advanced than anything we've achieved. Look at this. They could build planets from nothing but dust and energy. They reached a vast circular room filled with floating screens made of the same golden light as the emblem. Each screen showed different information: star maps, scientific formulas, historical records, and technical blueprints for machines that seemed impossible." Alex approached the nearest screen and touched it gently. The display responded to his presence, showing him detailed information about human genetic patterns. But these weren't patterns from modern humans. They were older, more complex, showing abilities that current humanity had lost. "According to this," Alex said as he studied the genetic data, "early humans could live for thousands of years. They could heal from almost any injury. Some of them could even communicate without speaking, just by thinking at each other." Kate was examining another screen that showed spacecraft designs. "These ships don't use any kind of fuel we know about. They seem to run on something called thought energy. How is that possible?" Alex consulted his new knowledge again. "The Zephyrians learned how to use the power of consciousness itself. They could make things happen just by thinking about them strongly enough. But it took thousands of years to develop that ability." "What happened to them?" Lisa asked. "If they were so powerful, how did they die out?" Alex touched a different screen, and the room filled with images of darkness. Not the darkness of space, but something else. A hungry darkness that ate stars and planets and left nothing behind. The Zephyrians called it the Void Swarm, and it had come from outside their galaxy. "They fought it for 1,000 years, Alex said quietly. "They used all their technology, all their power, but the swarm kept coming. In the end, they had to make a terrible choice." The screens showed the final days of the Zephyrian civilization. Great ships loaded with refugees fled to distant galaxies. Others scattered their people on primitive worlds. hoping that someday their descendants would grow strong enough to face the threat that had destroyed their empire. Earth was one of those worlds, Alex continued. They left some of their people there to guide early humans, to help them develop slowly and naturally. The plan was that we would eventually remember our heritage and reclaim our birthright. And the emblem was the key, Maya realized. It was waiting for someone with enough Zephyrian blood to activate it. Alex nodded. But there's something else. The Void Swarm didn't just disappear. According to these records, it's still out there, and it's heading in our direction. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Ryan was the first to speak. How long do we have? Alex touched another screen, one that showed the current position of the swarm. Maybe 1,000 years, maybe less. The Zephyrians weren't sure how fast it would travel. 1,000 years is a long time, Kate said hopefully. We could prepare. We could build defenses. Or we could run, like the Zephyrians did, Ryan suggested. Alex turned away from the screens and looked at his teammates. There's a third option. The Zephyrians left behind more than just information. They left behind tools, weapons, technologies that could turn ordinary humans into something powerful enough to fight the swarm. Where? Lisa asked. Alex smiled and gestured at the screens around them. Everywhere. This complex is just one small piece of a network that spans the entire galaxy. The emblem has given me the locations of hundreds of hidden sites, each one containing different pieces of their legacy. Maya's eyes were wide with excitement. We could rebuild their civilization. We could become what they were. But should we? Ryan asked. What if we're not ready for that kind of power? What if we make the same mistakes they did? Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the complex. Kate checked her equipment and looked alarmed. Energy readings are spiking again. Something big is happening. Alex touched the emblem's knowledge in his mind and felt a new presence. Ships were approaching the planet. Many ships. And they weren't human. We need to get back to the main chamber, Alex said urgently. The Galactic Council has detected the energy signatures from this place. They're coming to investigate. As they ran back through the glowing corridors, Alex wondered if humanity was ready for what was about to happen. The emblem had awakened more than just ancient machines. It had announced to the entire galaxy that the descendants of the Zephyrians had finally returned, and not everyone would be happy about that news. Captain Sam Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the human defense ship Defender, watching the alien fleet approach on his screens. 27 ships from different species had arrived at Kepler 4482c in the past 6 hours. More were coming. Captain, his communications officer called out, "We're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council flagship. Ambassador Claire Foster is requesting permission to come aboard." Sam nodded grimly. Claire was humanity's representative to the Council, and if she was here personally, the situation was serious. Grant permission. Have her escorted to the meeting room. Down on the planet's surface, Alex and his team had returned to the main chamber. The emblem was still glowing softly on its black table, and the walls continued to pulse with golden light. But now Alex could sense something else, a network of similar sites across the galaxy that were beginning to wake up. "Alex," Maya said, as she studied her instruments, "I'm detecting energy spikes on 17 different worlds. All of them have Zephyrian ruins, and all of them are activating just like this one." Lisa paced back and forth, clearly worried. "This is getting out of control. We need to find a way to shut this down before it causes a galactic incident." "I don't think we can shut it down," Alex replied. "And I'm not sure we should. The network is designed to activate when the Zephyrian descendants are ready to claim their inheritance. It's been waiting for millions of years." Ryan's radio crackled with a message from the orbiting research station. "Security Chief Powell, this is Commander Hayes on Starbound. You need to know that we have alien ships surrounding the planet. They're not attacking, but they're not leaving either." "Understood," Ryan replied. "What's their status?" "Mixed. Some appear to be Council peacekeepers. Others look like military vessels from the hegemony and other hostile factions. And there are a few ships I don't recognize at all." Alex closed his eyes and reached out with the knowledge the emblem had given him. He could sense the network of awakening sites, feel their power growing stronger by the hour. But he could also sense something else. Other minds touching the network. Not human minds, but alien ones filled with fear and anger. "They're scared," Alex said quietly. "Who's scared?" Kate asked. "The alien governments. They know what the Zephyrians were capable of. When their technology was at its peak, the Zephyrians controlled half the galaxy. No single species could stand against them." Maya looked up from her scanner. "And now they think humans are about to inherit all that power." "Are we?" Lisa asked, pointedly. Alex walked over to the emblem and placed his hand on it again. This time, the connection felt natural, like picking up a tool he had used all his life. Information flowed through his mind. Locations of hidden weapons, defensive systems, ships that could cross the galaxy in days. "The power is there," Alex said, "waiting for us to claim it." But the Zephyrians learned something important before they died. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. Hours later, in the council chamber aboard the flagship Harmony, Ambassador Claire Foster faced a room full of angry alien representatives. The chamber was designed to accommodate dozens of different species, with sections adjusted for various gravity levels and atmospheric requirements. The Vakar representative, a large reptilian creature named War Leader Thek, was speaking in a voice that sounded like grinding stone. "The humans must be contained immediately. We cannot allow them access to Zephyrian technology." "The Zephyrians nearly conquered our ancestors," added Counselor Vex from the Insectoid Hive Collective. "Their weapons could crack planets like eggs. If humans gain that knowledge, no species will be safe." Claire stood calmly at the center of the chamber, her voice steady despite the hostile atmosphere. "The human team on Kepler 442c activated the emblem by accident. They're scientists, not conquerors. They're studying the ruins to learn about ancient history." "Accident?" Thek's laugh sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. "The energy signatures we're detecting suggest that Zephyrian sites across the galaxy are coming online. This is no accident. It's an invasion." On the planet below, Alex was discovering that Thek wasn't entirely wrong. The emblem was showing him defensive systems that were automatically activating to protect Zephyrian sites. Ancient weapons platforms hidden in asteroid fields were powering up. Ships that had waited in secret for millions of years were beginning to wake from their long sleep. "Maya, I need you to send a message to our ship," Alex said urgently. "Tell them that some of the Zephyrian technology is activating on its own. It's designed to protect itself from interference." Maya quickly sent the message, then turned back to Alex with concern. "Can you control it?" Alex consulted the knowledge in his mind. The emblem had given him access codes and command protocols, but using them would require him to fully accept his role as a Zephyrian heir. That meant taking responsibility for technologies that could reshape the galaxy. "I can control it," Alex said slowly. "But there's a price. The network won't accept partial control. If I take command of one system, I take command of all of them." "All of them?" Kate asked. "How many are we talking about?" Alex's mind touched the network again, feeling its vast scope. Hundreds of defensive platforms, thousands of automated ships, weapons that could destroy entire star systems, manufacturing facilities that could build fleets overnight, the complete infrastructure of a galactic empire. Lisa sat down heavily on a piece of fallen stone. "No wonder the aliens are scared. If humans controlled all that, we'd be the dominant power in the galaxy within a year." Back on the council ship, the debate was becoming more heated. Several species were demanding immediate military action against human space. Others argued for diplomatic solutions. But the moderates were being shouted down by the war faction. "The Zephyrians were a plague that nearly destroyed our galaxy," declared Senator Krill from the Aquatic Depth Swimmers. "We cannot allow their heirs to repeat their mistakes." Claire tried to maintain order. "Perhaps we should wait and see what the humans actually do with this discovery. They haven't threatened anyone or made any demands. Yet, Thek growled. But how long before they realize what they could take from us? How long before they decide that ruling the galaxy is their birthright? The debate was interrupted by an aide who whispered something urgent in Claire's ear. Her face went pale as she listened. "I've just received word from the human research team," Claire announced to the chamber. "The Zephyrian sites are activating defensive protocols. Military assets that have been hidden for millions of years are coming online." The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Several representatives began demanding immediate strikes against human colonies. Others called for the evacuation of nearby systems. "This proves our point," Thek declared over the noise. "The humans are already activating ancient weapons. We must act before they become too powerful to stop." On Kepler 442c, Alex felt the weight of impossible choices pressing down on him. Through the network, he could sense alien fleets moving toward human space. Some were coming to investigate, but others were clearly preparing for war. The emblem pulsed against his hand, offering him the power to protect humanity from any threat. With a single thought, he could activate weapons that would make any attack impossible. He could ensure that humans would never again be vulnerable to alien aggression, but he could also sense the fear in alien minds across the galaxy. They remembered the Zephyrians as conquerors, not protectors. If Alex activated the full power of the network, he would confirm their worst fears and probably start a galactic war. "Alex," Ryan said quietly, "we need to make a decision. More alien ships are arriving every hour. Some of them don't look friendly." Alex stared at the emblem, feeling the vast network of ancient power waiting for his command. The choice he made in the next few minutes would determine the future of humanity, and possibly the fate of the entire galaxy. The Zephyrians had faced a similar choice long ago, when the Void Swarm threatened everything they had built. They had chosen to scatter and hide, hoping their descendants would find a better way. Now it was time to see if their faith had been justified. Alex stood in the glowing chamber, his hand still touching the emblem, feeling the weight of an entire galaxy's future pressing down on him. Through the ancient network, he could sense massive Zephyrian weapons coming online across hundreds of worlds. Ships that could destroy planets were awakening from their million-year sleep. Defense systems that could turn whole star systems into fortresses were waiting for his command. The temptation was overwhelming. With a single thought, he could make humanity the most powerful species in the galaxy. No alien race would ever threaten Earth again. Humans could claim their rightful place as the heirs of the greatest civilization that had ever existed. But Alex also remembered the pictures the emblem had shown him of the Void Swarm, consuming everything in its path. The Zephyrians had possessed all this power, and it hadn't saved them. Their advanced technology and mighty weapons had only delayed the inevitable. "Alex," Maya said softly, "the alien fleets are taking positions around the planet. Captain Rodriguez reports that some of them are charging weapons." Alex consulted the network and confirmed what Maya had said. 12 Vakar warships were moving into attack formation. Other species were following their lead, convinced that humanity was about to unleash ancient weapons against them. "I can stop them," Alex said quietly. "The network has defensive systems that could disable their entire fleet without harming anyone. But if I do that, it will only prove that they were right to fear us." Lisa stepped closer to him. "What other choice do we have? If they attack, people will die." Alex closed his eyes and reached deeper into the emblem's knowledge. The Zephyrians had left behind more than just weapons and ships. They had also left behind wisdom, learned through millions of years of mistakes and hard choices. "There is another way," Alex said, "but it requires trusting that wisdom is stronger than power." Before anyone could ask what he meant, Alex made his choice. Instead of activating the weapon systems, he accessed a different part of the network. Across the galaxy, Zephyrian sites began broadcasting not military threats, but information. On every world where the ancient ruins were awakening, holographic displays appeared showing the true history of the Zephyrian civilization. Not the version that painted them as conquerors, but the real story of a people who had tried to use their power to protect and nurture other species. The broadcasts showed Zephyrian scientists working alongside early members of dozens of races, teaching them agriculture, medicine, and engineering. They showed Zephyrian ships rescuing entire populations from natural disasters. They showed the final battle against the Void Swarm, where the Zephyrians had sacrificed their empire to give other species time to grow and develop. Aboard the Council, Flagship Ambassador Claire Foster watched the alien representatives as they viewed the historical broadcasts. The anger and fear on their faces slowly changed to confusion, then understanding. "This is impossible," War Leader Thek said, but his voice had lost its aggressive edge. "Our histories say the Zephyrians were conquerors who enslaved weaker races. Your histories were written by those who came after," Claire replied gently. "The Zephyrians made sure that the truth would be preserved, waiting for the day when their descendants would need to share it." The broadcast continued, showing how the Zephyrians had deliberately hidden their most powerful technologies to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. They had scattered their people across the galaxy not to build an empire, but to ensure that someone would survive to face the Void Swarm when it eventually arrived. On Kepler 442c, Alex was making more difficult choices. The network was offering him access to technologies that could cure diseases, end hunger, and extend human lifespans by thousands of years, but he could also see the potential dangers in each gift. "Maya, Kate, I need your help," Alex said. "The network has medical technologies that could eliminate cancer and genetic diseases, but if I activate them, humanity could become dependent on Zephyrian science instead of developing our own solutions." Kate studied the technical data flowing across the chamber's screens. "Maybe we don't have to choose all or nothing. What if we only activate the technologies that help people and leave the military systems dormant?" Alex touched the emblem again, searching for a way to make partial activations. The network resisted at first. It was designed to operate as a complete system, but Alex found pathways that would allow selective access. "I can do it," he said, "but it means accepting responsibility for making these choices for all of humanity, and eventually, for all the species in the galaxy." "Why all species?" Ryan asked. Alex consulted the network's deepest archives and found the answer. Because the Void Swarm is still coming. The Zephyrians calculated that it would reach this galaxy within the next 1,000 years. When it arrives, every intelligent species will need to work together to have any chance of survival. The weight of this revelation settled over the team, like a heavy blanket. They weren't just dealing with ancient alien technology anymore. They were facing the future protectors of galactic civilization. Hours passed as Alex carefully selected which technologies to activate. He chose medical advances that could save lives without creating dependence. He activated communication systems that would allow faster coordination between worlds. He powered up manufacturing techniques that could produce food and materials without damaging environments, but he left the weapons dormant. The ship stayed sleeping. The planetary defense systems remained offline. Instead, Alex activated something else: educational systems that would teach any species how to develop their own versions of Zephyrian technology. Rather than keeping the ancient knowledge secret, he chose to share it freely with anyone willing to learn. The effect across the galaxy was immediate. On worlds where different species had been suspicious of each other for centuries, Zephyrian archives opened their doors to all visitors. Scientists from dozens of races began working together to understand the shared history they had never known existed. Aboard the Council flagship, the atmosphere had completely changed. War Leader Thek was in deep conversation with representatives from species that the Vakar had considered enemies just hours before. "If this Void Swarm is real," Thek said slowly, "then our petty territorial disputes are meaningless. We need to prepare for a threat that destroyed a civilization far more advanced than any of ours." Ambassador Claire seized the moment. "The humans aren't trying to conquer anyone. They're offering to share knowledge that could help all of us survive what's coming." Senator Krill from the Depth Swimmers raised one of his tentacles. "What assurance do we have that humans won't change their minds? What if they decide to use the Zephyrian weapons against us later?" Before Claire could answer, a new voice spoke from the chamber's communication system. It was Alex broadcasting from the planet below. My name is Alex Carter, and I'm the human who activated the Zephyrian emblem. I want all of you to know that I've just made the most important decision in human history. The chamber fell silent as Alex's words filled the space. I've permanently disabled the weapon systems in the Zephyrian network. The ships, the defense platforms, the planet killers, they can never be activated again. I've chosen to break that part of our inheritance because wisdom is more valuable than power. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the full meaning of his words sank in. Alex had just voluntarily given up the ability to make humanity the dominant force in the galaxy. But I've kept the technologies that can help us all survive, Alex continued. Medical advances, manufacturing techniques, faster communication, systems, and most importantly, educational archives that will teach us how to work together. The Zephyrians learned that cooperation is stronger than conquest. I hope we can learn the same lesson without repeating their mistakes. War leader Thek stood up slowly, his massive frame towering over the other representatives. For a moment, Claire feared he would renew his calls for military action. Instead, the Vakar leader did something unprecedented. I formally apologize to the human delegation, Thek said in his grinding voice. We judged you by our own fears instead of your actual actions. You have shown wisdom that many of our species, including mine, lack. One by one, other representatives stood and offered similar apologies. The fear and suspicion that had dominated the chamber just hours before was replaced by something that hadn't existed in galactic politics for centuries: hope. Back on Kepler 442c, Alex finally removed his hand from the emblem. The golden light faded, but the connection remained. He would always be able to access the Zephyrian knowledge, but now it felt like a responsibility rather than a burden. Did we make the right choice? Maya asked. Alex looked around at his teammates, then up toward the ceiling where he knew dozens of alien ships waited in orbit. Ask me in 1,000 years when the Void Swarm arrives. If we're all still here to fight it together, then yes, we made the right choice. The emblem pulsed one final time, then went dark. Its purpose was complete. The scattered children of the Zephyrians had finally come home, not as conquerors but as teachers and protectors. And for the first time in galactic history, every intelligent species had a common goal: to prepare for a threat that would require all of them working together to overcome. The age of the Zephyrians was over. The age of Kuope,